Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Mrs. Worley,
Hello.
welcome.
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 Thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. We are getting ready to begin our second interview. We have Mrs. Lori Worley. And at this time, Ms. Worley, would you tell us something about yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name's Lori Worley, also Lori Grady. I'm just now in the process of restoring my maiden name, so a lot of people in New Bern also know me as Lori Grady. I'm a native of New Bern, born and raised here in Craven County in New Bern. I grew up in the Ghent neighborhood where my mom still lives, and I attended Craven County schools. I've lived in New Bern my whole adult life other than a little stint when I moved away to college, but I came right back as fast as I could get here. So I've been back in the New Bern area for 21 years, and I have spent most of my professional career, 20 years, most of the last 20 years, working in what I say is corporate America. So I spent most of that time with Weyerhaeuser Company, which is a pretty well-known community partner here in Craven County. I had a 3-year service with BSH, and my professional career has been in finance and accounting and in the timber business. So I like to think I'm active in this community. I've been, most of my volunteer efforts really for about the last 12 years have been with Partners in Education. My professional career had a lot of demands in that I was not physically in Craven County a lot of times, so I traveled a lot. I always said I had the best job because I had my dream job in my hometown, had to get on an airplane a whole lot of times, but I always got to come back here. So
Good.
So now I left the corporate environment back in May of this year, and I have been working full-time in real estate appraisal since then. I am currently a registered trainee by the North Carolina Appraisal Board and pursuing a new career.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You have an exciting life.
So I don't know about that. I've got a 19-year-old son that keeps things as exciting as they can be.
Thank you. We have 18 questions for you.
Okay.
And we want you to take your time. Each of us will ask you 3 questions. And the last one would ask you if you want to say something that we did not ask you.
Okay, thank you.
So at this time, we will begin with our Vice Chair, Ms. Kimberly Smith.
Hello. Would you prefer I call you Ms. Grady?
You can call me. I'll answer to anything.
That's sort of what I say too.
Most of the time. I'll
Hometown
answer.
girls will. They will just answer to whatever, maiden or whatever. So what has prompted you to become interested in serving on Craven County School Board?
I've long been interested in serving on Craven County's Board of Education, but as I just mentioned, my professional career, though it was what I loved to do, it kind of hindered my flexibility, in my opinion, to serve in the way that I think a public servant should. So I have much love for Craven County, all things Craven County, and particularly public education in Craven County.
Do you have, which kind of goes to what you were just talking about, do you have sufficient time to serve in this position?
I'm sorry. So can you repeat that question,
I will take
please?
this down for you. Do you have sufficient time to devote to this position?
Yes, I believe now I have sufficient time. And I also am a big believer that we have time for those things for which we make time.
And my last one for you is, what do you see as the primary work of the board?
To support not just the schools that we have in the county, but also to support all the stakeholders of the school system. And I won't be too long-winded on that, but I believe that every single person that lives or works in Craven County is a stakeholder in what this school system produces, either because you have children or grandchildren, or because you might be employing people into the workforce. So I just believe that the purpose of the board, though, is to support those efforts and to make our the outcomes of our school system to be the best that they can be for Craven County.
Thank you.
Our next person is Mrs. Naomi Clark.
Welcome, Mrs. Grady.
Hello.
In your opinion, what qualities and behaviors should board members exhibit?
Should absolutely be servant leaders. And I think being servant is as important as being a leader. They should be committed to the cause, not just in lip service, but also in the service that they give to not just this board, but to the stakeholders of this board.
What qualities do you possess that would make you an asset to this board?
I believe I am absolutely servant, and I believe that I do have the leadership skills to also work amongst a team, just like we have here in this board. And I am absolutely committed to public education in Craven County, not just in my words or my service, but I believe in my time and that this is a place where I could also contribute my talents.
Thank you. Lastly, the board is limited to only 1 or 2 meetings a month, but have a massive amount of work. How should the board prioritize its work?
Well, I believe that starts with a plan of work, if you will, an agenda, which this board does. This board is good at planning and scheduling the work. And so I just think that pre-planning and working not only when you come to the meeting, but acknowledging that your role on this board requires you to be present with the board, even when you're not in a formal meeting setting. So I think being prepared and planning ahead.
Thank you. Next questioner.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Kelly Miss?
Hey, how are you today?
I'm great. I hope you are.
Doing well. When the board has items to vote on, the item is carried forward with a majority vote. How would you handle an item being approved or not on which you voted the opposite?
So I also believe that, there's a reason that we have a majority rule in certain situations, and this is a perfect example of that. All boards are a perfect example of that. I have certainly been in a capacity before, not in a public service board, but on other boards where I was, if not the lone opposition, maybe one of a few. And you just have to acknowledge being part of a board is being part of a team. And you're not going to win or persuade the majority all the time. It doesn't make it wrong what the majority chooses, though.
And it doesn't make you wrong necessarily
That's
for
right.
going against it either.
That's right.
What do you consider the role of the superintendent?
I see that the superintendent is the chief executive officer, if you will, of the school system, and that they should be very active and vocal in the strategic moves of the school board and the school system, but also they have a more of what I would call a tactical role in managing the daily operations of the school system. But they absolutely are a strategic partner, and we can't look to them just as being a staff member and not having input to the board.
In considering a prospective superintendent, what qualities would you look for?
I would look for someone who is visible and present and accessible, not just to people inside the school system, but to, again, stakeholders outside of the school system proper. The superintendent of our public education system, to me, is as important as elected officials, not just on the school board, but in other capacities. They're a chief officer in a lot of regards, and people in the community look to them and need the person in that role to be willing and able to work with stakeholders outside of their job proper.
Thank you. Ms. King?
Okay. Thank you for having me today.
Okay, I have 3 questions as well. My first question is, what should be the relationship between the board and the superintendent?
I think it should be a good relationship and it should be a working relationship. And in that regard, and while I've not worked formally in education, I've seen that work both ways, where one is, I don't think that the superintendent should be the giver and the taker, and I don't think that the board should be the giver and the taker. But I also acknowledge that the citizens of Craven County have selected all of you to make decisions in the interest of the stakeholders of Craven County. So I believe that the superintendent has to be willing and able to work jointly with the board.
Second question.
I think,
Did I turn it off?
there you
I
go.
turned it off. That's probably why. Okay, thank you. Next question. How would you describe the relationship between the board and the community?
I believe that's very important. I'm just going to speak candidly in that I don't know that all parts of the community feel the same transparency that I probably feel just because I have relationships here. And I believe it's very important. I believe it's as important for the board members to be visible and present in the community as it is for the superintendent. And there are different ways that we can do that, but I think that that is critical.
Okay. Okay, and I'm just going to change that last word if that's okay, board members. For number 12, my last question.
Okay.
If a community member comes to you with a problem or concern, how would you address the concern?
Depending probably on how controversial it is.
Exactly.
No. I would certainly listen to their concerns. And I also don't believe that we get a whole lot of solution by kind of letting a one-way path of communication kind of let those concerns die on the vine. We've probably all been in situations, either here in your elected positions or in just your professional careers, where someone had a concern and we kind of thought personally, okay, that's not a big deal. Maybe it's not. But I don't believe that I believe we should take every concern seriously. How exhaustively we handle that, I think, becomes a decision of how we communicate amongst the board. But I believe that all concerns should be considered and listened to and taken seriously.
Thank you.
Ms. Carl Alpert.
Thank you, Ms. Grady. I appreciate your stepping forward to be in this chair.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
What ideas do you have for improving current community partnerships and opportunities for establishing future partnerships?
So I believe that the partnerships, again, I don't know if you are more concerned about how the board builds partnerships, but I believe that there's some opportunity for building, believe it or not, more partnerships within our business community, large and small. So some ideas for doing that, I think, are I've appreciated how the Board of Education has gone on site, and obviously not the last year, but in the last couple of years before, you're having meetings on site at some of the schools. I think it's very important to be present and visible there, but I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe have some on-site meetings at some of your larger and smaller employers in town. And yeah, and I think a lot of times the community, not just speaking of kind of organized parts of the community, but individuals in the community a lot of times are the places where we can really build strong partnerships almost at a grassroots level. So I think if there are things that we could do as a board to make people more aware or more engaged, I don't know what those look like. They might look like things such as board members being present at a history program or something at a school, not in a formalized setting, but where people feel like you're accessible. and present.
Thank you. What are the current challenges facing education?
Now, we only have until what time today?
Exactly.
And it depends on if you view them as really challenges or as opportunities to do something differently or to do something better. I think presently, a challenge is how do we get kids and teachers and staff in the best learning environment? I'm not an expert, but I still hear a lot of kind of mixed feelings about our response to whether it's the pandemic or a post natural disaster. So I think a challenge is how do we accommodate, but not over accommodate, and make the best, the best semblance of delivering education to our kids. But I think that's not the only challenge. I think we have a big challenge in front of us, and I don't think this is just Craven County, where stakeholders outside of the school system proper aren't feeling, I don't know that it's that they're not feeling that there's transparency, but they're not feeling like they don't know what they don't know. And so I think that's a big challenge, because it's probably, the solutions are probably around communication. Usually they are. And so, but the communication piece is not something that we can fit into a formal framework. I think it's something like the soft skills or the hard skills. And so I think communication and just making sure that our stakeholders across the board, again, outside of the formal education system, feel that transparency. I could go on and on. I don't think that challenges are all bad things, though. They're just things we're kind of faced with, and how, if there were no pandemic and there were no natural disasters in Craven County, we would still be looking at the situation of, do we have the right set of capital assets? Are we giving a third grader at James W. Smith the same access to the same tools that we're giving a third grader at Brinson? I think that those are kind of timeless challenges that we have. And so we can get focused on the things that are specific to today, but I think there's plenty that we could be looking at without those things. Sorry, that's a really open-ended question.
It is. We talk about it a lot.
Well, I know, I'm sure, I hear in your meetings.
What do you see are the strengths and weaknesses of Craven County Schools?
Strengths, hands down, are our people. And it's like any other organization, not all of our people are strong points. We have people who are weak links, but that's anywhere we go. So for me, I try not to focus on those. So I would say our people. I would say that our community partnerships are an absolute strong point here. When you speak of fundraising is just one piece of it, but people in the community want to have a piece in that. And it's not just because Partners in Education is awesome, though they are. It's because they want to have a piece of what's so good about Craven County, and they believe that our schools are what's good about Craven County. And then I guess going back to weaknesses, I would just say, I know that there's some general feeling in pockets of the community that feel like there's not a lot of transparency.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have the last three questions.
Okay.
Question 16.
Okay.
Tell us what you know about Craven County Schools' performance and how it compares with systems across the state. That's the first part. Second part, what do you feel our priority should be?
Okay. So I know that Craven County's current I guess from a measurable standpoint, is on par with the state. But where we catch a lot of flack is that there are a couple of surrounding school systems that, from a measurable standpoint, seem to have better performance ratings than us. I really don't, I mean, that is a problem in that, because when we try to recruit people to Craven County, it's hands down, people are looking at what can I resell my house for when I want to move, and what is the education system like? It's just a reality. So I see that Craven County right now, if people were stacking up numbers, it appears that Craven County is paling compared to our immediate competition, right? I mean, it's great if we can kind of stand in line with the state or stand a little above the state average. But when people want to move to Eastern North Carolina, they really don't care about really what's going on in Charlotte or Raleigh. They care about their job that's bringing them to Eastern North Carolina. And are they going to settle their family in Craven County? Or are they just going to commute a little ways and go to Carteret County or Onslow County? These are real things that real people are saying and deciding about when they are looking at Craven County schools. So, and I'm sorry, Ms. Boomer, could you repeat the last part of your question?
Yes, ma'am. What do you feel our priority should be?
Okay, so I feel that one thing that I've noticed in Craven County schools over the last, I'm going to say 3 years, because I really started to notice it post 2018 or post Florence in 2018, was that our enrollment was dropping. And it first dropped off by about 5%. Into 2020, it dropped a little more. And of course, in 2021, I think we're seeing close to 12% over that 3 or 4 year time frame. Some may not think that that's a big deal, but the reason I think it's a big deal is because I think that it says to people who are coming to Craven County, why don't people want their kids? Craven County has great places to work, great places to go to church, great places to live. Why are the people not sending their kids to the schools there? And obviously they are, but if we've had a 10% drop in our enrollment, I think we have to ask ourselves why. And I think we've got to look at some stuff that we might not want to look at to find those answers. And we can't internalize what those answers are. We just have to say, these are the facts. And what can we do? We know Craven County is where everybody should want to be. So what can we do about that? What can we do? So I think that enrollment is definitely should be a priority here. And I would also just say probably some consistency, and it may not be that there's not consistency in the delivery of what we deliver for the students and the teachers. It may just be that we don't know what we don't know, but I think a priority should also be consistency. Again, I would say from Havelock to James W. Smith that a fourth grader is getting the same thing, whether they're going to a school inside the city limits of New Bern or the town of Vanceboro or the city of Havelock. And we have to, of course, bring those measurables up. But I believe that those things that we talk about will bring those measurable indicators up.
Okay. Question 17.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on the school board being nonpartisan?
Can you just repeat? I couldn't hear the first part. I heard the nonpartisan part at the end.
What are your thoughts on the school boards being nonpartisan?
I have long said that I believe school boards should be nonpartisan. I think it's unfortunate that even nonpartisan boards recently have started to behave like they want to be partisan. And I absolutely support the nonpartisan work of the school board. I think I have a demonstrated track record for being able to successfully perform with a very nonpartisan, bipartisan mindset.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And your last question.
Yes.
What one question you wish we would have asked that was not asked?
I wish you would have asked me. I wish you maybe would have asked what my favorite thing is about Craven County Schools. Why do I believe in it? I'm a product of it. Sometimes when we're a product of it, we just make ourselves think we believe in it. But I believe in the work that Craven County Schools does every single day. We're not the best at everything we do, and we're not the worst at everything we do. But we've got a good thing here. And I believe our stakeholders, if they don't believe that, they want to believe it. So we've got to do everything we can to show them that that's the real story.
Thank you so much,
Thank you all.
Thank you.
and we appreciate you having interest in being part of the board. school
Thank
board.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And that's all the questions that we have for you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I will.
I think we do. At this time, we will take a break while they're tallying our scores. Let's take a 15-minute break.
Are you done?
Thank you.
Ms. Clark. Put it in the box, please, since I'm taking that way. It's not
Our interviews have been completed. Our scores have been tallied. Each candidate was asked 18 questions. Each board member asked 3 questions. As the candidate gave their answers, we gave a score, 1, 3, or 5 for each answer. After that, all the answers were tallied, and the highest scoring rubric was Mr. Victor Dove.
And before I make the motion, I want to clarify too that we also scored the applications of each candidate individually and separately. So the scores from their actual applications were combined with the scores from their interviews today. So the 2 scores together, the 2 scores together, the highest of them was Mr. Victor Dove. And with that, I would make the recommendation that we appoint Mr. Victor Dove to the vacant seat on our board.
I second.
It has been moved and second that Mr. Victor Dove will be appointed to the board to fulfill the vacancy for the 4th district. You have heard the question. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. All right. We are very happy to say that Victor Dove is the one who will fulfill the 4th seat, the vacancy for the 4th district. Congratulations to him, and this will be announced.
We just did.
Officially, again, for those who didn't hear, we will announce it on Thursday night.
I did the same thing you did, Ms. King. Chairman, you can introduce him on Thursday night, then we'll schedule the time for his swearing in, and then give us a time to give him an orientation in advance of his first meeting.
Thank you.
And can I also add, I think for behalf of everybody, that these were 2 excellent candidates.
Sure.
And the board would have been blessed, and the system would have been blessed with either one of them. We were very
Yes.
fortunate to have 2. So it's good, hopeful, at least for me, it's hopeful as I look at it's hopeful that people, really great people are stepping up to serve. And that's a great problem to have.
Yes, it is.
Yes. They both interviewed with much enthusiasm, and both of them could bring much to our board. And we appreciate them taking the interest and the time to come out and interview and even want to be a part of the board. And for that, we are very thankful. So at this time, we will do our plus deltas. Being items. Do we have any being items?
I don't see any.
Okay. So we will do our plus deltas.
Give me 1 second, Chairman. All right, as you all consider the mission of the Board of Education as well as the mission of the Craven County School System, what worked for you today in furtherance of those missions?
I very much appreciated the break in between, because trying to juggle the hats of jobs and things, it was a huge plus for me, because our work sessions tend to, at the time, it was a huge plus to have that break in there to let me get work done,
Good.
other work.
I would like to, the presentations were good, great today. I especially like the question that the board presented, because Ms. Muse brought out some questions, made something I was not aware that certain teachers were able to teach some of the CTE classes. And so with having said that, that would give, to me, that would make more flexibility to perhaps later to offer some more classes for the CTE. So I like that she pointed that out. I was not aware of that.
I was going to feed off of there. I was going to say that I appreciate Ms. Tolston's presentation.
Yes.
I'm glad to see that CT is implementing some new programs, and I think it's great that we're offering our middle school students an intro into our health science courses, and it is convenient that any teacher that teaches CTE for our middle school students can teach that component, because it is one of our most popular courses in high school. And none of us are getting any younger, so we're all going to need dependable healthcare providers. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to open that up to all of our middle schools, and I really hope that that's considered and done.
It was a plus that Ms. Colston brought us the information that we need to share with the community.
The cards.
Yeah, the cards, I take them to the Chamber of Commerce every year. I mean, I'd encourage us to do that as well, because sharing the word every chance we get is a great, when she posts the things on CTE and we can share them, that just helps everybody.
Anything else?
This is a celebration, but also a plus, because when we took a break and I had the June meeting, I went back there, Dr. Diggs said, go to my office, because they were in the library. And I overheard some of the most meaningful discussion between Dr. Diggs and Ms. Lee as I was trying to set up my meeting, and thought, Lord, I wish everybody could hear what I just heard, the work happening. So it's a plus that Dr. Diggs let me go and have my MAC meeting in her office, because I got an insight that I might not have gotten otherwise.
I'm glad that Mrs. Hardison was given the opportunity to do her presentation this morning. We also know that ECP is one of those tough areas, and we really care about our children. And I think we will all agree that we are trying to do what we can do to make it easier for everybody. And so I'm very thankful that she gave us some information, some things to clear up some things for us. Because you get a lot of hits about ECP. And I think some things were cleared up.
I also think a plus is that the board did a really good job today of using the ground rules in approaching their questions, and the staff, I think, also did a really great job of accepting feedback and suggestions. The way we approach the questioning, the way with the dialogue, I think it was just really, really productive today on both sides, how it was given and how it was received.
And I like Mrs. Clark bringing up about giving our stakeholders more of an opportunity to put in their input. So lots of good information, I guess, is the bottom line that we received today.
I didn't hear the part about, I heard Ms. Clark, but I didn't hear
For
the
being
public.
considerate of giving our stakeholders more of an opportunity to participate, to ask their concerns. And one more thing, as far as the time, it gave 4 of us an opportunity to do our webinar today. We used that time wisely. We ate, we did our webinar. Therefore, we won't have to worry about doing it tonight when we get home.
I'm glad that we were all able to be present today, even though,
And I was
well,
about to say,
I mean, we work, so, I mean, there's no telling. I may be late one day, Ms. Smith may be late one day, because, we all have jobs outside of this board. But with us having the application process to select our new board's member, it was really nice that we were all here together, and it was an effort by us all to select this person. So I think it was really, really nice that we were together.
I think we all listen as an ally. And it's always good to be able to agree and disagree. To agree to disagree.
I think the process worked, and the process was a good process and a fair process that we used, and one that we want to make sure that we keep in our manual moving forward for when as the board changes as a reference, because to me, it worked well.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, it could have been better if.
Probably could have been better if we could have done the interviews a different time from the work session. And I know we were on a time constraint and we needed to do it so that we can, because we definitely need another board member. So, but I'm thinking, sometimes it might have been better, but the interview themselves could not have been any better. We would have been just less tired, I guess, so to speak. But Kelly said that she's getting older, and so you might need to consider.
Let's,
She said it.
I'm not sure quite how to offer it, but I hope we carry forward the time required for this activity in the notes so that we'll have a little bit better feel for what that spacing should be. I mean, we didn't know. We don't do this very often.
Right.
Once every, 6 years?
It's been a while.
So, right. But that would be helpful in scheduling.
Anything else? All right, let's see if I got this all.
You had a
Pluses.
lot. You had a lot.
Appreciate the break in between the items today. Presentations were great, especially as well as the questions that were presented by Ms. Muse concerning CTE classes. Appreciate Ms. Tolston's presentation and glad to see that CTE is presenting some new programs. Great to see that we're offering an introduction to health sciences in middle school, and it's convenient that any business teacher can provide that instruction. Ms. Tolson brought us the information to share with the community, those cards. The board is encouraged to share this information with local business partners. Overheard some of the most meaningful conversations between the Assistant Superintendent for Academic Services and Strategic Planning and Continuous Improvement. Appreciate the work of our exceptional children's director. And we know that our EC program is very important to our children and families and help to clear up some issues related to exceptional children's programming. The board did a great job today of using the ground rules and approaching the questions. Staff did a great job of accepting feedback. It was a productive day and how feedback was delivered and how it was received. Like Ms. Clark's suggestion about being considerate of public participation in meetings and hearing the concerns of the public. The time gave 4 of us the chance to complete a webinar today. We ate, received professional learning. They did not have to worry about missing it. I didn't put the part about the evening, but I can add that if you want me to. We were able to present today because we were able to be present today despite our other professional obligations. It's nice to be here together to select the new Board of Education member. Everyone listened as an ally. It's always good to be able to agree to disagree. Process for filling the Board of Education vacancy was a good process, and it's one that we need to carry forward in our manual. Deltas, it could have been better if we had done interviews at a different time from the work session because of the long day, and the time for the interviews could have been shorter. I just put in parentheses, recommend that we adjust to approximately 45 minutes. That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have anything else that we need to say? Can we get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Second.
It has been moved and second that the meeting is adjourned. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The meeting is adjourned.
Mr. Gadsden.